Thank you so much. Good afternoon, colleagues. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming out. This is the first of our technology-related webinars and workshop for semester 2. My name is Michelle Stewart McCoy, and I am here to walk you through the process of using some technology tools that we can use to better engage our students and transform our classroom. A part of the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning's mantra for this year is about transformative learning. And so we're looking at different ways we can transform our teaching and learning experiences. I don't know if I had said it already, but my name is Michelle Stewart McCoy. I am the faculty or educational developer responsible for technologies, educational technologies. And joining me is Mr. Williams. He has the technology portfolio as our administrative persons, and I do tend to do this to him every time. Mr. Williams, could you open your camera and just say hi, please?
I think I have to change it. Sorry. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dominic, and as Mrs. McCoy said, I'll be here assisting today.
Hi.
Thank you so much. So welcome, colleagues. We don't have a lot of time today. We only have an hour. It's a lunch and learn. And just a quick disclaimer, well, a couple of disclaimers. One, I'm using 2 monitors. So if you see me look away a little bit, that's because I'm looking on the second monitor. 2, our sessions, the technology sessions tend to be interactive. You tend to have something to do that's hands-on throughout our sessions. This session is a little bit different because we're going to be doing more of the talking aspect in the sessions because we're looking at, the general feel and look of what H5P is all about. And 3, we are focusing almost all our sessions this semester on H5P interactions, different H5P interactions. This has come about because we have had several requests to engage faculty with the different H5P. So we have decided that we're going to make a suite out of it, and we are going to focus on some of the common ones, the popular ones that may be useful in your classroom. So having said all of that, welcome again, and thank you so much. When I start sharing my screen, Mr. Williams is going to look at the chat or to see if there are any hands raised. And please don't consider this one-way information. Let us consider this a conversation where we talk a little bit about H5P and what it is all about. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. My camera may be off because I'm selecting content only, but I am here. Please let me know if you're seeing my screen. Should be coming up. Wrong screen. All right, let's do this over. Let me know if you're seeing my PowerPoint now.
Yeah, seeing it.
Yes,
Okay,
seeing
great.
it.
Okay. So one of the drawbacks when you have 2 screens, so sometimes get messed up. All right, so we are looking at an overview of H5P, what it is, how it works, what the different interactions are, and what are the implications for you engaging with your learners. Now, one of the things that I know is that there are times we have persons who come who are not faculty members. That's fine. If you engage with other persons and you're thinking about how you can use the interaction, this is also a good place for you to be, and we welcome you. Now, before we get into the talking part of it, we have a very quick poll. So Mr. Williams is going to bring the poll up on the screen for me. And so I want you to think about your context, okay? When you create material for this online space, what is one of the biggest challenges you have? You can only select one. All right. So what is the biggest challenge you have? Is it engaging the students? Is it taking time to create the material? Is it making the content interactive? Is it finding a way to assess the understanding after the students have gone through? So I'm looking at the responses so far, and I am seeing that quite a number of persons have an issue with making the content interactive. I see getting students engaged as second, and also, well, tied with time to create material. All right, so I'm just giving us a couple seconds more. But so far, most persons, the concern is, and the challenge is making content interactive. If you end the poll, Dominic, there is an option that says show poll, show results.
I see share results, yeah.
Share results, all right. Can you share the results, please? So based on what you see on your screen, most of you, 62% of you, find that making the content interactive is the challenge that you face. And that is followed by student engagement and time to create the material. So one of the things that, looking at the H5P is that it addresses these concerns. A way to show you how to make students' material interactive, but it also shows you how you can save on the time. So it's not as time consuming once you get the first set of actions correct, because what you do for every other interaction is repetitive. And so we are going to be looking a little bit at that. All right. Now, why are we looking at H5P? If we're honest, most of us tend to give students PDFs, we give them PowerPoint slides, and sometimes we get very creative and we give them a video that's on YouTube or elsewhere, or we embed it in the VLE or so forth. The truth of the matter is that we have a problem. Our students are not reading the PDF files. The PowerPoints, they tend to open a couple of days or maybe the night before the assessment is due. And I don't know if you have seen your students do this, but I have seen my daughter do this. When she's watching the video, she speeds it up. So she puts it on 1.5 speed or 2. And I say, how do you hear anything when you do that? But that is something that our students are doing. They're speeding up the video. They're watching it at double speed and 2.5 speed. And it's not because what it is we provide our students with is bad. It's because it's passive. So there's nothing that is in the PDF files or in the PowerPoints that we share, or even the videos, unless of course we're using an interactive video, that have the students pause at any point, think about the material, respond to something that is put in, get feedback. So they're not in the material in any meaningful way. And as I said before, it's not because the content is bad. It's just that it looks at kind of engagement, interactivity with students. And so you may ask yourself, okay, then, so what's going to be the alternative? Do you think that I'm going to sit down and create interactive content and put these things in so that students, that's going to take me forever? And this is where the H5P comes in. You don't have to, 1, create new content, 2, worry about the timing, and 3, the interactions are basically templates. You just input the information. So this is where the H5P solves our problem. Now, what exactly is H5P? A show of hands can work here. Raise your hands if you know what H5P is, if you have worked with H5P, let me know. So you can just simply raise your hands. I'm just going to see if I can click on to see the hands. All right, I'm not seeing any hands. Ah, there, thank God. All right, so I see a hand come up. So we're not very familiar. Based on that, we're either very shy or we're not very familiar with H5P, and that is fine. Much of what we try to do is to help you to understand it so that you don't fear the tool so much and so that you can explore a little bit. So what is H5P? H5P is HTML5 package. You don't need to know what all of this is, but it's good to have a very baseline. So it's open source, and it's embedded into our Moodle, into our VLE. So we're going to take a look at the VLE when we're finished, but I'm just going to go through the content first. So it allows you to create interactive content. So that problem that you said, you have a problem with getting students engaged, what the H5P does, it allows you to create interactive content. And you don't have to have any coding skills, and you don't have to have any kind of technical skills. Why would you want to think about H5P? Well, beyond the fact that it is embedded in the Moodle platform, it allows you to create active learning experiences for our students. And the literature and our supervisors are telling us we need to engage with learners more. We need to engage learners more. Learners need to engage with the learning material. And so the H5P package allows us to create that kind of active learning experiences. So the students are doing things, they're not just reading or receiving the information. So they're not just watching, they're not just reading, they're doing things. The other thing about H5P is that it provides immediate feedback. So once you put in that kind of feedback so that students know what they're doing well, what they're doing, what they need to be doing, you don't have to worry to go back and look at what the students have done or to revisit the session so that you can explain what's right and what's wrong. They get that kind of feedback right there. And we know that our students want that kind of immediate feedback. So the H5P gives that to them. We don't have to log into a different space because this is in the VLE. It works on all kinds of devices. So if your students have smartphones, if your students have tablets, if they have laptops, if they have desktop computers, it works on all devices and it works on all platforms. So I have tested it on Windows, I've tested it on Mac. It works well. And as you set this up, you also are able to gather data because what happens is that as the students interact, there is something in the system that shows you how many times the student has engaged with the material, how well the student has done, how long it took the student. So all of this kind of big data information about student interaction is right there in the H5P that sits in our VLE. And then the content, you can download the content and use it again. You can use it in different courses, different years, different semesters. So the material is reusable across your different courses. So isn't that something? And in the VLE, we have like a quiz. We have I think there are, all right, don't hold me at this. I think we have 7 resources and something like 16 activities because the Moodle is intended to be activity driven. When we consider the H5P, it has, and they refer to them as interactions, we can call them activities. It has 53 from the VLE. There are more than that, but in our VLE, when we go, we'll see there are 53 interactions that we can use for different things. All right, so let me bring up another slide for you. So I told you that we have 53 interactions. Let me know if you're still seeing my screen. You should see something that says H5P interactions and teaching purpose.
I'm seeing it. I'm not sure if this would answer the question, but somebody's asking for a couple of examples.
We are going, when we go into the VLE, you'll see the examples. So don't worry about that. Okay. I just saw a hand. Is that a question?
Wasn't a
No, I
hand,
think
it
it was
was
a thumbs
thumbs
up.
up.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. All right. So we have in the VLE, we have 53 different interactions. Okay. we don't need to know all of these interactions. They're there, and I'm simply sharing them with you. And I've had AI help me organize it into different teaching purposes. What we will be looking at during this semester will be something like 8 or 9 different interactions, which you can use in any one of your courses. But you can go onto the system and look at what the others are. And then there is the H5P website, which is also useful. All right, so let us look at what we have. If you want to present and organize content to your students, you want to guide them through learning material, you want to introduce topics, you want to chunk the information into smaller pieces so that it's easier to digest, you want to give them some kind of guided study, then you can use the accordion, which is, it sort of looks like an FAQ. So you click on something, it has a drop down, and that. So when we go in, we look at it, okay? You can put it together in a calendar, the audio, there is a chart, there is a collage that you can make. You can put it in columns. You have the course presentation, which is one of the things that we're going to be looking at a little later, which is a cool, oh my goodness, it's just a nice version of what we use for PowerPoint. There's the documentation tool. So you can see all of these things. We're also going to be looking at how we can create the interactive book. There is a timeline, and then there's a Twitter, with no longer known as Twitter, but they haven't changed the name, the Twitter using feed. So this is when we're presenting content, putting it in bite-sized pieces for the students. Then if we want to check students' understanding, and this is low stakes because they get feedback and so forth, there is for math and statistic or numerical courses, you have the arithmetic quiz. And then you have, for more general areas, you have the guess the answer, where the question is posed, they have to guess the answer based on what is presented, multiple choice. The question set, which combines multiple choice, true, false, close, and that sort of thing. You have the questionnaire, which you can use, the single choice, which is, it's a set of only multiple choice type questions, true, false, and so forth. So if you want your students to revise material, if you want them to prepare for class, if you want to just find out how well they are doing, you can use these to check for understanding. If you want students to practice different terminology and sequencing, then there are another set of interactions that you can do that. So this is for repeated practice and so forth. So you have your fill in the blank, your drag and drop. So you have your drag the words, mark the words, dictation for those courses that have that oral aspect where you have to listen and feed it. It's beautiful because when you consider that you can have the students listen to something and write. For your foreign language courses, for your oral communication courses, this is beautiful. You have find the words and sorting paragraphs. So there are different skill set that you can use for these different interactions. All right. If you're looking at working with images because you want the students to see how different images work, diagrams, videos, analyze, observe, locate, see processes, then there are a number of image-related interactions that H5P have, and all of them have different nuances, different features, but they follow a set pattern. So you have the image hotspot, which is something that we're going to do, but you also have multiple image hotspots that you can do. You have the choice, you have the pairing, you have sequencing, you have the sliding where you slide the thing across. There are different image related interactions. And then if you want students to be able to engage in a find your own adventure kind of thing, where they apply ideas and they make decisions, and based on the decisions that they make, it then presents them with another set of information or decisions and choices. And then, so something like that, you can use branching questions, the branching scenario. You can use the interactive video where it pauses it at different points and you ask a question based on the feedback. They can either go back or, that sort of thing. So, and the personality quiz based on how they respond, it categorizes their information, tells them where they are, and gives them advice on how to move forward. So you use interactions like these if you're looking at case-based learning, if you're looking on them giving professional judgment or academic judgment on something, if you want them to reason out something and justify why these are ideal. And then if you want your students to construct longer responses or to reflect on information, there are a set of interactions for that as well. So you realize how long I've been talking about all these interactions? There are 53. I think I counted 53. It may have been 54, but there are 53 that I counted interactions. So if you want students to do extended writing, there is the essay, there is the summary, there is a dialogue cards. And as it says here, your teaching uses would be if you want the students to engage in metacognitive activities, if you want them to prepare for discussion. And then, of course, you can engage them with different types, text, audio, video, images, and so forth.
I have
And
a
because,
question.
yes, go
Sorry.
ahead.
How do the essays get evaluated?
All right, so you would have to create sample responses, or you go in afterwards and you mark those. So those don't give the kind of immediate feedback. It can give immediate feedback in terms of your responses should ideally have these things. But in order for it to have a grade, you would have, there are different things that we can do. We can, one, go back in and mark it after. Two, we can set parameters that are done in such a way that if the student have certain key terms, a point or two is allotted. So that kind of information can be set up in there so that you can use it. But usually for extended writing, we find that you have to revisit those and give more detailed feedback. Does that answer the question?
That was me. It does. So I've been looking for something because the chemistry, the keyword doesn't work because students can put a whole bunch of keywords that makes no sense in a logical sequence.
That is
And to
confusing.
grade 400 papers is ridiculous. It doesn't really make any sense. So I was trying to say there's a way for AI integration that could look at essay grading.
All right. So essay was never one of the things that we were focusing on, but what I will do for you, who was that speaking?
Nikisha Stevenson or Nikki
All right.
Stevenson.
So it's okay for me to call you Nikisha or Nikki?
Yeah, or Nikki. Yep, perfect.
All right. So one of the things that we will do is that when we're doing one of the workshops are longer sessions. The webinars are usually an hour, so it's really to wet your feet and whet your appetite a little bit. But when we're doing one of the workshops, which is I think is a 3-hour session, I will engage in one of these extended ones so that you can see how it works and how you could consider setting it up so that it automatically grades. All right.
Thank you.
No problem.
We have two more
Okay,
questions.
go ahead. Thanks,
Will the
Dominic.
document, no problem. Will the document be shared with us, and is H5P AI?
Yes, the document will be shared with you. No, H5P is not AI, and I have not seen any updates as yet that speaks about AI integration. It uses algorithms and run on automation based on how we set up the back end. But to date, I have not seen anything that speaks about generative AI being integrated into it. It is still one of the purer tools that we have. All right, now things may change in the future, but that's where we are just now. Next question. Oh, will you get this? Oh, sure. I will, when the recording is ready, Mr. Williams will share that link with you, and I will share this as well as my presentation as a PDF. And at the end of the series, there is a guide on H5P. So instead of giving you something each week, at the end, we will share with you something that's a little more comprehensive that may be useful for you. Okay. I think those are the two questions, Dominic.
Yes, those were there.
All right, great. Right. So I was at the point where, the whole matter of game-based learning and gamification still remains strong in education, is particularly higher education. And so one set of interactions have to do with that kind of games and memory and playful engagement. And so if you want to motivate your students, if you want to reinforce, if you want something to be done in a light, fun, ludic manner, then you can use a crossword, you can use the flashcard, you can use the memory game, you can use the game map. So this is helping students to explore, to revise, to build their confidence. You can use it for orientation purposes and so forth. There's a whole set of interactions that have to do with speech, audio and speech. So this is for pronunciation and oral practice and fine-tuning, refining communication skills. So you have the audio recording, you have the speak the words, and you have the speak the words set, which is slightly different from just speak the words. And these are dedicated interactions. But in all interactions, you can include your audio, you can include your video if you want to have that kind of audio and speech interaction. And the last set, yes, this is the last set, has to do with more of the immersive experiences. So for immersion, for fieldwork preparation, for blended learning context, for that kind of immersive world feel. You have the AR scavenger. You have the iframe embedder, so you can embed just about anything using the iframe code. You have the QR code. They have a cute way of spelling that, where you simply scan and it takes you. So we had done something that we call the poor man's AR, and it was how you could mimic augmented reality using QR codes. And we had done a session on that some time ago, which is really cool. This takes it up a little notch. And then, of course, there's a virtual tour. I don't know if you have ever done that 360-degree tour for hotels or museums and so forth. You can set this up right here with your students where they actually get that 3D, that 360-degree experience. They move around in wherever it is you have set up for them, so they get to explore, looking at from point A all around back to point A. So this is something that is really cool, and these are all 9 categories, all 53 interactions that exist in H5P.
I have
All
another
right,
question. Is the
go
game
ahead.
map similar to a concept map?
It's a little more than a concept map. If you think of, and I don't know if you're into games and game-based playing, but if you think of an adventure, a game in which is an adventure, and there is a lay of the land, it's like having a physical map or a conceptual map. So you may have grid lines and so forth. And what happens is that the students move from point A to point B. They may not be able to get to point B unless they can correctly respond to something, or they may be sent back to point A. An escape room, if you think of it like an escape room where you're in this room and you have to move through different rooms before you can escape, or you have to find clues, or you have to respond to questions and riddles. That's the idea of the game map. So it's setting out a blueprint on which different points are located, and students move successfully from one point to the other until they arrive at where you want them. Now, when you interweave the whole teaching and learning content into that, you have an almost immersive, non-stop, engaging gameplay for your students. I don't remember if we have it as one of the things that we were going to be looking at, but again, we can just do a quickie meaning I can show you what that may look like and how you could use it in any one of your courses with your students. Anything else, Dominic?
No, nothing else.
All right. Now, when we right, so I spoke about all of that. Okay, let's move on. So when you think about H5P, we need to think about one of the things that you responded to in the poll, where you pointed out that, you know, the time it takes to come up with these things. Every interaction in H5P, regardless of the type. So we just looked at 53 different types, right? But every interaction has three sets, three core components, three main things that you keep using. So it makes it repetitive, cuts down on the amount of time that you do things the minute you get it right. So if you understand these three parts, it makes using and creating any H5P activity easier. Okay, now what are the three components? The first one is the content area. All right, the content area is what students see. So when students go into the VLE and they click on the name of it, the content is what they see and they engage with. This is your teaching material. So this is information, content, videos, questions, whatever. You already have that. And of course, your content can be a video, it can be a diagram, it can be a timeline, it can be text passages, it can be audio clips, it can be a combination of any of this. So you're not creating anything new for the content area, unless of course you decide that you're going to be creating something from scratch. But you simply would go to material that you already have, your PowerPoint slide, your diagram, your videos, your explanation, your audio lectures, and you're putting all of these in from, you're moving them from a static format to an interactive format. So content, you're already off. You know the lay of the land as it relates to your content. This is familiar territory. This is what you have been creating and delivering all this time. H5P just give you a different way, an interactive way to present it. All right. So that is your content. That is what students see. The next layer is, so we're looking at the anatomy basically, is your interaction layer. All right. So the interaction layer, this is where the passive content is transformed into active content. This is where you have clickable hotspots. This is where students don't just look at the image, they're exploring it. So they click this and they see something. They click it, they watch a video. They click this, they hear an audio. So the interaction can be different things depending on what your H5P type is. So your students can click on hotspots. They can drag elements to the correct location. They can type answers into text boxes if that is what you set up. They can select from multiple choice options. They can make a decision to go that particular pathway and follow what happens. They can scrub through a timeline if you set up a timeline. They can flip flashcards if you're using flashcards. They can pause a video so that they answer a question or anything you can think of that you want the students to do. Once you select the correct interaction, H5P interaction, you can do that. So whatever it is, the students are never, ever, ever passive. The content requires them to engage. They have to do something. They have to think, they have to respond, they have to make some kind of decision. They no longer read about it, they're actually doing it. And of course, this is where the relearning takes place. All right. And then the third and final layer is this one right here, the feedback mechanism. All right. And of course, I don't have to tell you what the literature says, what experience has taught us about feedback, giving feedback to our students. So this third layer in our H5P interaction is what takes it from just learning it what takes it from just being an activity to learning. This is where we close the learning loop. So every interaction that we have, it gives something back to students. So what do we mean by that? When the student clicks on something, if it's incorrect, they get feedback to show them where they went wrong, and they get an opportunity to try again or to try next time. All right. So the feedback happens the minute they engage with the content. So they don't have to wait until the end of the quiz. They don't have to wait until the assignment is marked 2 weeks later, so the university give it 10 days. They don't have to wait until after the markers have marked the exam to find out what they did or didn't understand. They get the feedback immediately, okay, in the moment, while they're still thinking about it before they click onto the next interaction. And so students can test their understanding right here. They get immediate feedback. They can correct any kind of misunderstandings they have before they move on. And when they do move on, they're moving on with accurate knowledge. Of course, it means that we would have to set it up, okay? So it doesn't just appear because you put a content in. You would still have to guide from the back end what exactly you want the students to see and how you want the response to look when you're giving feedback. All right. So these are the three main components in every H5P content that we're going to be looking at. And even the ones that we're not going to be looking at, these are the three main things that you have to remember at all times: content, interaction, feedback. Now let us look at how these three work together, unless of course there's another question.
Are these sites safe?
Are these sites safe?
Yeah.
Is the VLE safe? Because this is embedded in the... So if you think of the VLE as safe, then yes. So the VLE is safe because, one, students log into this safe space, which is housed within the UE Mona setting. They go to the virtual learning environment, our Moodle platform. They log in with their ID number. So they don't have to put in their name, date of birth, favorite food, none of that kind of information. Whatever the engagements they do, that is done within this box. So Moodle is referred to as learning in a box because the students don't go outside, they're not engaging. Everything that they do is right here in the VLE. So in that sense, yes, it is safe. And these are not different sites. It's an activity that is in the VLE. Does that answer your question? The person who had asked?
Said thank you. So yes.
Okay, great. So yes, as safe is and safe does, this is safe because it is embedded in the VLE. The students operate in the VLE. They're not supposed to be logging in anywhere else. All right. So we're looking at these three contents, these three layers. I'll call them layers. And what happens is that the students encounter your content first. They see the image, they watch the video, they learn about the different explanations. And then they do something. So after they have digested the information, after they have read, they then have to do something. So this is the interaction. So they have to identify something, they have to answer a question, they have to make a decision, they have to apply a concept. So they don't just absorb the information and that is it. It's not about passive consumption. The feedback then tells them immediately how they did. So it confirms understanding or it corrects any kinds of mistakes with an explanation. So this, of course, as I said before, closes the learning loop. And so they move on to the next piece of content and the next interaction and then get another set of feedback. And so this is a continuous cycle of learner engagement. It's very different from when you give them the PDF or when you give them the PowerPoint or when you give them a video from YouTube where they sit down and they watch it. And if they do a quiz, they have to wait until you go in and you mark and you make sure that everything is all right and you consult the rubric and so. So within the H5P, students engage with the content. Well, students get the content, engage with it, respond accordingly, get feedback. And so they are constantly checking and understanding as they go along. Okay, so when we think about these three components, if you think about a Lego game where you have all of these different blocks and then you build the different pieces together depending on what it is you're trying to achieve, think of the H5P system as Lego blocks. So you have blocks for instruction, blocks for explanation, blocks for questions. You have image blocks, which can be static or interactive. You have video and audio blocks. So if you think of all of these things as blocks, you'll realize that depending on what it is you're putting together, you simply pull a block from here, you put a block there, and you build the information. So you don't have to do anything from blocks are like little templates, which you'll see when we move over. And so these help us to quickly put the pieces together. We can review it before our students get to engage with it. All right. Now, a big part of H5P interaction is what is known as the content bank. This is the VLE's central storage system for H5P. So you know how when you're going to do an assignment or you're going to create a book or you're going to do something else, you go to turn on editing and you click on upload a file and so forth. That is not where the H5P content goes. It is so special section. So it has the content, and this is where the H5P content is housed. And this is where we go if we want to make adjustments. We can edit it right there in the bank. We can duplicate and make adjustments and reuse. So the H5P content bank is very important because this is where we put everything that we want and then we access it. So just as though you have your money in the bank and you go and withdraw money, different amounts at different points, think of it like that. It's content that you put together, and when you need something, you open your course and you go to the content bank and you fetch what it is you have set up that you want. All right, so we are going to take a closer look. So the content bank, when we get there, you'll realize has all the different H5P interactions as well as whatever it is you have created. Okay, so I'm going to jump over now to the VLE so that you can see what I'm talking about. Are there any questions, any comments before we go? Anything you need clarified?
Is creating a quiz in H5P easier than in Moodle?
It's less time consuming. And we're going to be looking at the question set where we get to create. It's closer to the Moodle quiz. It's less time consuming once you get it. In the Moodle quiz, you have to do three main things. So you have to set up the shell, you have to create your questions, and then you have to import it. Okay. With H5P, as you will see, because we're going to be doing one of the quiz sets, you have your questions, you decide on the feedback, you set it up. It's less bothersome, it's less cumbersome, and it's a little less time consuming for me. I may not be the best judge of character for this because I've been using these for such a long while now. It has become almost second nature for me. So I may probably not be the best person, but for me, I find that the H5P is a better fit in terms of the kind of effort that you exert. However, depending on what it is you want the students to be able to do, if it's a high stakes, we would stay with the Moodle quiz because of the nature of the mechanisms. And we're going to take a little quick look at should I use H5P or Moodle when we come back from the VLE? All right, so let me just jump over to the VLE very quickly. All right, so of course you would have to log into the VLE, and I'm using one of my current courses just to show you where what is housed and so forth. Okay, so the first thing is that you don't have to turn editing on to access the content bank. So you would go up at the top menu here and you would click on more, and you'll see the question bank. That is if you're setting up the quiz, and right below that you'll see the content bank. The content bank is the only place that houses H5P content. Okay, so this is my course, and it will show you that this is a course. It tells you that this is the content bank for this course. So each course that you have has a different content bank. So even though you can download and reuse, you have different banks for different courses. Okay, so these are two activities that we had set up before. I'll show you in just a minute. Over here, you'll see where it says add. And if you click the drop down, this is where you'll see all the different content interactions. Okay, they call it interactive content, they call it interactions, we can call them activities, we can call them type. You may see upload because there are instances where you can actually create your content out external to the Moodle platform and upload it. So the CETL had done a session called Lumi that allows you to create the activities, the H5P activities external to the VLE and then upload it. That is what you would click if you already have that H5P. Here, this is just how you organize. So if you wanted to, if you have a lot of them and you want to put it in grades, you can do it here, or you can look at it where you see the file and you see the details. If I click on it, that is what it gives you. All right, so I tell you when it was modified, where it is linked, what kind of thing it is. Okay, so that is just organization. If I click on, so I'm in the content bank and we had created these two things. If I click on this particular one, which is an image hotspot, it opens up. And if you want to edit it and make changes, so if let's say I wanted to add some more things to it, I could simply click edit and add more to it. In this form, I can actually test it as if I were a student. So when I click on this, I see the information comes up. When I click on this, it gives me the information and it gives me picture. So this allows me to test it. But if I wanted to add something more or change some things, then I would click on edit. And of course, you can do this for all the activities you have. So this is a drag and drop. If I were to do this, I'm testing it. And I'm dropping these things in. Okay, I get a chance to test it to make sure that it works well. And you realize that I got the content, I did my interaction, I got my immediate feedback, which tells me that I need to try again. All right, so it tells me that I got these two right, but something else is wrong. So when I click on retry, so you realize that the students are not just looking at anything, they're engaging right away. All right, and when I'm finished with that, I click exit and it carries me back to the bank where I can continue. So I can add. And as I said before, during the semester or sessions, we're going to be looking at a number of them. But don't take my word for it. Go through and count and tell me how many you get. There are a lot. So in terms of engaging our students, we really don't have any excuse anymore of just using PDF. We just have to try and get out of our comfort zone if we're uncomfortable and see how we can use it. And we're here. CETL is here. The Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning is here to help you. All right. So we still have a few minutes. Yes. So one of the things somebody was asking about the quiz as against the question set. And the truth of the matter is, when you look in the VLE, you'll realize that embedded in the VLE, you have resources and you have activities. And one of the activities happen to be H5P. And I've mentioned only a few here because you may say, oh, but Moodle already have these activities. Why do I need to use this another additional H5P activity? And I've listed just a few because we know that there are more activities and resources on either side. There are 53 over here and total 17 plus 6, that's what, 23? So we have more for either side. The thing is this, we have to think about, why do I want to use an H5P as against use the Moodle embed generic tools? One of the things you can ask yourself is, if I'm looking for interaction, if I'm looking for engaging learning experiences, if I want immediate feedback that is embedded in the content, if it's for low stakes activities and assessments, formative assessment, if it's for practice, if I want that heavy visual active learning, if I want to have that kind of tracking engagement, then use the H5P. The H5P does that, guaranteed. If you are thinking of high stakes assessment, so you know that you have those assignments that carry 50%, 40%, 60%. You may need peer collaboration for some of your tasks. If you want to manage the files that you upload, if you want to provide students with reference material, or if you want to display basic information, then you use the Moodle. One of the things I want to tell you though is that it's not an either or. If you really want to get maximum impact, then you combine them. So you use a quiz as the final high stake thing, but you use the question set for students to practice. You may want to set up a branching scenario so that they can explore and see where their choices lead them. And then if you want them to read and respond to other persons, you use the forum. So you can make your course a powerhouse if you combine both the H5P and Moodle for your learners to engage with. Now, I've done a lot of talking. I did say that this session is going to be me talking more than normal, but I wanted you to get a better understanding of how does H5P work, what it means, and what we'll be doing when we're looking at the different interactions. So far, what we have done in this particular session is that we have learned that H5P means, what does H5P mean again?
HTML5 package.
Thank you. So it's HTML5 package, somebody was paying close attention. And it transforms static information into interactive experience that requires students to engage. So they're not just passively looking at the information, they are actually engaging. We have learned that there are 53 different interaction types available in the VLE, but we're only going to focus on about 8 to 10 because we really don't need to know all of them. I have tested probably about 30, 35. I still will test the others because I need to know how they work so that I can walk you through, but it has quite a number. Everything that you need is stored in the content bank, which houses what you all have already done, what you're going to create, or what it is you're going to upload. Every interaction that you create as the back-end expert has 3 layers. So the content that the students see, the interaction that they engage with, the feedback that they get. So the whole process is an active learning. What we need to remember is that the H5P interactions complement what exists in the Moodle platform. It doesn't replace them. It works much better if we combine them. Our goal as facilitators is to encourage active learning and to ensure that our students get immediate feedback, not just to make the material look pretty. So of course, it means that we have to think about the learning outcomes. We have to think about the activities that help students towards what the big ticket assessment is and the demonstration of learning. When we started this session, we started off with a very simple poll that says, what is your biggest challenge? What you may have found out just by looking at the overview is that you can make passive content very, very interactive because the students have to engage and they get immediate feedback. Because you can reuse and reuse, and because the actions are repetitive, it means that you are not engaging in as much time. It's not as time consuming. Once you get the hang of the first one, and we're starting with a very, very simple low hanging fruit when we start our interactions. And then, of course, when you mention that your students are not as engaged, what you realize here is that, oh, your students have to be engaged, because in order for them to move on to the next point, they have to respond to something. In order for them to see what is going on here, they may have to drag, they may have to click, they may have to open, they may have to apply. And so the H5P is a powerhouse that has always lived in the VLE, well, since we got the upgraded version, that most persons don't know about. Steer away from it because you're not too au fait with it. We are here to help you understand it and see the infinite possibilities that you have at your hand. Yes, Nikki, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so quick question. So in terms of, I guess, pedagogy, so for students who, if you're really making interactive notebooks, using these tools to their full capacity and getting students to engage with those, how much do we know of how this translate now for when they're actually sitting an exam, doing their final exams and retaining and understanding the course material? Or
All
is
right.
just that they're being stimulated, just having fun with the content, but it's not really, yeah.
All right. So because we're facilitators and our job is to ensure that our students learn, we are selective in the kind of content. Of course, we have to look at the learning outcomes. If the learning outcomes say that they should be able to analyze, we'll have to ensure when we're setting up the content, there is some interaction that requires them to make judicious decisions or responses to certain things. The engagement helps in the learning. There is a saying, and I'm sure you know it. Forgive me if I get it wrong. It says that when I hear, I forget. When I see, I remember. When I do, I understand. Then I learn. And that is the premise on which the H5P is built. It is built on students doing so that they can understand. Now, if students are doing and they're getting the immediate feedback, they're realizing what they were doing wrong, what they have been doing right, and learning is taking place. It means that when they go for these end of term exam, exactly, Jeanette, that is active learning. So when they go to these exams or have these final assignments, it means that they're in a better position to apply the information that they assimilated, that they digested during the semester, during the sessions, and so forth. I haven't done any research into improvement of students' grades or engagement. What I do know is that I have seen where my students rather go through the interactions than the PDF that I may have put up, than a video that I direct them to YouTube to watch, no matter how short it is, because once they get this kind of interaction, they're bound to, well, they're hooked, if you will. Does that answer the question, Nikki?
Yes and no. Like I'm a big fan of active learning. You know, and active learning is also traditional stuff like taking a textbook and reading it and answering questions, and it's active engaging with the material. I have students who I've seen who you give them quizzes, they're getting the feedback, and it doesn't always translate to how well they perform in the course. Where they may be, I'm not sure if it's how they are engaging with the material, like they're dragging and dropping and then want to get it right, they feel good about it, but the connection between what they're dragging and dropping and different topics is not explicitly being made for them in that activity, so it doesn't translate, or it could be the assessment is completely wrong. So I just want to know, like, how well does these because just like with people, the IQ games, so with gamification, for instance, and people play a lot of these games and so they're learning, but outside of the game, the context is put a different way, they may struggle with the material. And so I guess I'm asking is if you could point me to direction as to how effective this is in, yes, students are engaged, but actually helps for long-term benefits, not just for the students who are already doing well in the course, but for those who may be struggling who are having a hard time and may not have the best study skills, but are trying, but just can't seem to put it together?
We'll share with you some research that has been done. I haven't found anything that has been done here, and I suspect it's because we're not too familiar with it. It's just an opportunity, and I would welcome you to try and see what happens in your course. But I can share with you some links, some readings, very interesting
ma'am.
readings about what has been
I'll
found.
appreciate that.
I'll share it with Mr. Williams so that he can share it with everybody. But you raised a very important point. You said, this is what is happening, and maybe the assessment is all wrong. And so it's another whole can of worms, but that kind of, Dr. Chisholm loves to refer to it. He calls it the constructive alignment. That kind of constructive alignment is important. It's critical, where the learning outcomes and the activities and the assessment must be aligned, must be related, must be closely linked. Because there are some of us who tend to, we have the learning outcomes and we set up some activities, and the activities have nothing to do with the learning outcomes. And then the final assessment is so different from what the students have been practicing. So that kind of alignment is going to be very important. It's critical. So that is one thing. And then there is the other part where we don't just simply put this together and tell the students to go on the VLE because it is there. We still have our role as pedagogical experts to guide the students, to let them know that, and not to tell them that, oh, this is coming on the exam, but to let them know that part of what you're doing here has to do with you truly understanding the material so that you can engage at the end of the semester and beyond, when you go into the workplace, when you meet a particular case on the outside and so forth. So I think the way we guide students and whether or not we have constructively aligned our learning outcomes, our activities, and our assessment is something that we also need to look closely at. And then, of course, we mix this with traditional content. So we still use our books, we still use our PDFs, but we also use this. So we use a hybrid approach to helping students. But I can share the readings with you so that you can take a look at what is there. And I'm challenging you, Nikki, test it out and collect the information, the research. Okay?
I do a lot on Moodle. I'm a super user. The drag and the drop, all the things that we have. H5P is one thing I haven't tried yet.
Nice.
So yes, drag and drop, finding different ways to make it I use all the tools available. I'm just
Nice. I'm
looking to make
happy
sure
to
that
hear
it's
that.
effective and yes, I'm not a complete cynic. I just want to make sure that it's what you're doing actually makes sense. All right. Thank you. I look
Yes.
forward to getting that.
All right, great. Yes, Valerie.
I had put something in the chat. All right, so when you went on to VLE, we saw where you went into the content bank and how you can add and all of that. But how does the student get access to the activity itself?
All right. So today's session was simply a broad overview. We don't have a lunch and learn next Wednesday because it's a public holiday. But when we come back, we're going to be looking at how we set it up, how we make the students access it. We're going to test it as a student. Dominic, please remind me to ask Mr. Wilson to put some mock students into our course so that we can look at it from a student's perspective. Okay?
Okay, no
So we're going to set it up. We're going to add it in the content bank. We're going to look at it. We're going to edit it if needs be. And then we are going to move it from the content bank, put it in the course, and look at it to see what the student sees, test it as our student would test it, and then look at it as facilitator to see that kind of engagement. So starting when we have our next session, we will be doing that to show you exactly what you do for different interactions.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Anything else? Ladies and gentlemen, it's 10 minutes past 1. Anything else that you want to add or say as it relates to the overview?
Afternoon, Michelle. Afternoon, colleagues.
Hi.
Is it possible that if a staff member would like to get the assistance of your department to activate, because I'm looking through some of the HP interactive content, and you said there's 53 of them.
Mhm.
And I recognize that a few of them require you to input information, and it can be a lot of information depending on the course you're doing, the teaching objective you want to ascertain or have the student interact with. So sometimes I'm thinking that it might get rather time consuming at times. So assistance is what I'm asking about.
One-on-one? One-on-one consultation you're talking about, Caroline?
Yes, if
Um,
that can work.
yes, you just simply send an email to the CETL, Mona.CETL, Dominic.
Mona-CETL.
Mona-CETL@ue.edu and
Okay.
say you're interested in this, and one of our admin support will give you the consultation form. You simply say what it is you want, and we set it up after.
Okay.
Is Jeanette still here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I just saw your email asking for your message asking for
Yeah,
my
the
email.
chat.
So
Mhm.
it's
Oh, great.
michelle.stewartmccoy@ue.edu.
Thank you, because in case we have other questions,
Yes, not a problem, not a problem.
okay, great. And I wanted to ask, not to prolong the session, but so is there room for research in our context, Caribbean context, on the use of this in our
Oh,
courses?
yes. And if there's anybody who wants to do that kind of research, I'm willing to work with you, because I don't think we have enough coming out of the Caribbean, coming out of Jamaica, that looks at these newer technologies. And I put newer in quotation because we're still way behind when it comes to cutting edge technology. We're still trying to play catch up with what would maybe considered dying and old technologies. And so we need to have more information that speaks to what our students are doing, what our faculty members are doing. We don't have enough of that. And so, yes, there is room. There's always room for research and publication that speaks to our niche, our area, our context.
Okay, great. Just to let you know, though, I'm in St. Augustine.
It doesn't matter. It's
So
a part of the Caribbean.
yeah, I'll work with Settle in STA, of course, but I'd love to work with Jamaica.
Okay, great.
My alma mater, actually.
Oh, nice. We're forming partnerships already. And this is how we expand. We build different networks, and we learn what is happening. Much of what we do, even though we are one UE, we still operate in silos in some cases. So it would be good if we have this kind of networking and research and publication, and we can speak to what is happening as it relates to 21st century technology use, students' responses, what we have found, what works, what doesn't work. All right. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you. We have come way past the end of this session. I am grateful for the interaction and the interest. We have a number of sessions coming up. Dominic will share with you when he sends out the link, but I'm not sure if he has already shared in the chat. We have save the dates, because we have quite a suite of what is coming up. You can look at what works best for you, or you can come to all of thing is we usually ask for some kind of feedback. I don't know if we had created one for this, Dominic, because it's just an overview, but
I think one was made. I have to pull it up.
We won't share one now, not for the overview.
Okay.
But for the other sessions, we will be asking you for feedback on what we have done, whether or not this is something that interests you. Is there anything else that you are interested in, so that we can have a better idea of how to serve you. So thank you so much for coming out for this overview. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for the engagement. And thank you, Dominic. And we look forward to the next one. As soon as the recording is ready, we'll share that. We will also share the H5Ps that I had shared in this session. And Nikki and others, I will do a quick collecting collating of the papers that I have on H5P and add a few more that I'll do a quick search for so that you can have that as well. All right. So thank you, colleagues. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the day and the rest of the week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Nice as per usual, Michelle. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I try. I try.
You're not trying, you're doing. You're doing.
Yes, thanks.
Bye. Yeah, man. Take care.
Bye-bye.